It is started.
Okay, thanks to MIT for giving me this wonderful opportunity to connect with you all. I am pleased to note that we have almost 139 participants already logged in for this session, and I think the total is approximately 500 who have registered. I hope many of them will be joining in some time. So thank you MIT for giving me this opportunity. So today we will be talking about one of the critical function of every organization, and that is HR. So let us begin with how the role of HR is constituted in the industry in reality. HR function is one of the critical function of organization because it manages the most important asset of the company, which is human capital. It is one of the toughest job, and it's not easy to maintain human capital. Reason for that is simple, because humans are only creature on this planet who can speak, and it's not easy to manage people who can speak. And moreover, not only they can speak, they have emotions also. So no wonder it is one of the toughest tasks which we have. Having said so, let's go through quickly the list of some common tasks which we consider as important tasks for HR. Can you go to second slide, please? Thank you. As you can see on the slide, according to me, can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So as you can see on slide, according to me, these are the core functions expected from HR, which is selecting right candidate, training them, motivating them, and retaining them. However, what we see in reality is that the two of the most important function for HR, which is motivating and retaining the talent to make them future leader, is because of some reasons we are not able to do that. We are not able to give them required importance in time. The reason for the same is that they are busy doing routine tasks. And what are those tasks are? So most important for HR is doing the recruitments. After recruitment, it is induction, which is nothing but we call it as onboarding. Then yearly appraisal, which consumes a lot of time in appraisals, making new CTC sheet, making list for promotions and all that. Employee engagement, which is mostly taking at the time of festival celebration. Basically, it is clubbed together. Timely disbursement of salary, which is also one of the important tasks. Exit formalities, preparing relieving letters, experience certificate, full and final, etc., etc. Leave and attendance management. And yeah, one more important one, I think, which every employee, including HR, waits for, is making a yearly holiday calendar. So the story does not end here. In most of the organizations, especially in India, the HR function has been clubbed with additional responsibilities like HR and admin, though both are separate functions, but are being considered as one. In some organizations, HR and admin are considered separate, but facility management, though being part of admin, is clubbed with HR. Then there are organizations, especially the big one, wherein they have different departments for HR, IR, facility management, admin, etc. But they end up reporting to one person, and everything comes under the you can call it a head of HR or something, and they spend most of their time in handling all the other activities rather than focusing on the core value of HR. So I think this makes you clear that this requires multitasking, and the core function of HR is lost somewhere. And this results in what? Can we go to next slide, please? One more, please. Unhappy employees. So here we can't say that it is because of HR is not making time for its core activity, and that's why employees are unhappy. Let's see how HR is functioning in different size of organizations. So first, let us talk about family-owned businesses, which are mostly micro and small industries. Here, HR and admin is one department. In fact, what other things which we talked about before, like IR and all these things are clubbed. But what makes difference here is that the entire decision making lies with the owner, the promoter. Sitting in his office, he is making all the decision, and what HR is doing is executing those decisions. Even if there are any grievances, they are not able to, I wouldn't say able, but I would say they are not authorized to handle that. They just pass it on to the big boss, who is owner, and everything settles in his office again. So hardly any scope for doing core HR activities there. Let's talk about the medium-sized organizations, wherein some kind of professional working is there. HR is being considered the important department, because people can go and complain or register their grievances with them, and then HR is taking it to the top management. So that's why they are being given some importance. They are being made part of discussions also, but in most of the cases we see the decisions are being taken either by the business heads or by the plant heads if the company have multiple plants across the globe. Therein again, then they become the executor of those decisions, but they have some importance here as compared to the first one. Next is the big organizations, wherein they have complex systems, complex policies, and so many different things to do. And it is a big department, so they are so engrossed in following those systems and making employees to work as per those policies, that again somehow the core function of HR is not being taken care of. So I think all of you are working professionals and in this field, or maybe from other fields also, as I've been told. So this might not be new for all of you. You might have experience about this. I mentioned all these things here so that we can understand that all these responsibilities are also important, and HR department is busy full time to complete this task and not able to get time for actual HR functions which they should do. This is tedious and routine job, and that's why we experience turnover in HR department as well. So guys, I'm sharing all this because I have seen this in reality. But let me tell you what best can be done to have the real flavor of this function. So if I have to say, I will say HR professional in an organization should help business to move. And this is what makes them one of the important contributor for the growth of the organization. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this is really important, and how HR function can help is that they will help in recruiting the right talent, which can help the business to run on day-to-day basis without any interruption. They will make sure the growth of the talent which they have hired. They will work towards retaining that talent, and they will also work that finally that talent becomes the leader and can take some leadership role in the organization and take the organization to the next level. Now, this may sound simple, but why it is important to understand the business? Because unless we understand the nitty-gritty of the business, either the people which we will be hiring or upscaling will not be able to contribute to the growth of that particular business, and will continue doing the same job again and again without much of the growth, except the inflation in India, which generally gives you 5 to 7% growth every year. So guys, just knowing or writing the GD is not enough, knowing the business is. Now let's look at the picture and its content. So if you get the opportunity to understand the business, you will understand the product which the business is selling or manufacturing, who are the customers, what is the strategy, what is the vision, what are the ultimate goals, who are the competitors, what are the plans for future and what futuristic business the organization is looking for and want to grow in. So this is really challenging for HR professionals. First of all, they do not get this opportunity to get into the nitty-gritty of business because, as we have discussed before, they are so busy in doing the routine job that they do not get time even to do the core activities of HR. So knowing the business itself is a tough task. Moreover, this also requires a lot of patience and support from management, that they are being made part of this. They are being allowed to attend the business meets wherein they can understand what are the needs and where the business is heading and which direction company wants to go. So that's why I said it's important. And management, it is also challenging because they really have to have patience for this and wait for results, because it's not a one day exercise of for quarterly or monthly you can learn about this. It requires a lot of time and patience as well. So what next? Why it is so important? Let's look at the next slide, please. So what does it say? That the skills which we will need in immediate future are different from what has got us here. They will be radically different. Why so? Because right now the people which you have, they lack the skills which are required for future. The people who have the experience are not having those skills, and the people who are having those skills do not have the experience. So it's a mismatch. Earlier, the size which we thought that it was difficult to manage, now it is becoming normal. A multi-billion-dollar company in India, like the way Patanjali has grown, they have been able to manage it successfully. So size right now doesn't matter. Any size can be managed. Why I said about this is because we all are aware that some of the biggest names in history, which were once billion-dollar companies, have vanished. It's not only for the reason because they were not able to change, but they were not able to get the right people to take the futuristic business and decisions for that. And this is why knowing the business is really important, as it can give you the information what are the skill sets required for the growth. So what does it mean for HR professionals? So for HR professionals, it needs to continuously working on competency metrics and match it with the requirement of business. Can we go to the next slide, please? So if they are aware in which direction the business is moving, which are the future projects are business which are planned, they will be able to look for the right talent with right skills, which will help those business to grow or to bring it under the radar of the organization. This will also help to analyze them the current skills, the knowledge sets which the existing manpower and manforce has. This will help them to upscale the existing manpower, arrange for their trainings to enhance their knowledge base. This is also true that we cannot upscale or train the entire workforce. So this is what the picture says, that the management is standing on the other side, all the employees are on this side, and there is a big gap here. This gap can be filled when you understand the business requirement, and then you get the right talent to fill up the gap, and then everybody can cross. Can we go to the next slide, please? So how does it help? So this is what I say is the most important function for HR is. So here in first picture, you can see HR is hand-holding the employee, showing him the career graph, which is being presented by a red arrow going upwards. With the hand-holding means recruiting the right talent with right skills, arranging for any training if there are any gaps, showing them the path, growth, everything, so that the employee can be retained. That's what we see in next picture. Once this handholding is done, is going in a direction on right arrow, which is showed by green color. And in short span of time, the talent is taking a big leap and becoming the leader, which will help company to grow and sustain some and get some volumes. So can we go to the next slide, please now? So I would like to tell you one story here before I talk about this slide. So I was dealing with one of a big public sector bank, and I was sitting with one of their GM level person in their regional office, and we were facing some difficulties in decision making from their side. And I asked why it is so, and they said, because they hired people in 70s and 80s, and afterward the process was slow. So with the promotion policies were bringing people to that level, and in between some people left, and now they are feeling a vacuum there. So then I asked him, that what you're going to fill up that gap. He said, yeah, we have taken a decision. Now we want to change, and we want to be really at par with the private banks and all. So we have recruited 300 postgraduates from business school. That was a really big decision. And I said, yeah, then what happened? Why still this vacuum? And he said, yeah, in 1 year, 90% of them left. We are hardly left with 10 or 15. That was quite surprising for me. But when I analyzed it, I realized that they decided to change, but they forgot one most important thing is they forgot to change the culture of the organization. They forgot to change the system, traditional system, I would say, which they were working with. So this is how this becomes really important, that HR department is also being made part or is working to change the culture of the company. Let me clarify here, I'm not talking about Gen Next companies, which are like Facebook or Google or Microsoft. Here, typically, I'm talking about the traditional manufacturing companies and who are serving for the old economies. So what does the picture says? If you see the picture, first picture, this young lady, she is extending her hand to the experienced person in organization. But because of his tradition and culture, rather than welcoming her and extending his hand, he's going down. So he's not doing anything bad, but he's following his culture and he's not able to gel up with the culture from where this young generation has come up with. So that's why it is really very, very important for HR to work for changing the culture of the organization. Changing means gelling up both the experienced people and the young ones together so that they can work together and they can work for the growth of the company. We really need both of them. As I mentioned earlier, that people have the experience but do not have the right skills, and the people who have right skill do not have the experience. So meeting both of them is really important, and they won't meet unless this culture and the systems are changed. So as we have seen, the multi-billion dollar companies have just vanished because they have not been able to do this. Needless to say, change is the only constant thing. We have seen and experienced this wave of change in last 1 decade, which no one thought of. That today, Uber, Ola, these are one of the biggest companies. Oyo is going to be the biggest company as far as the owing the rooms are concerned, but still they do not own a single property. Zomato, Flipkart, all these application-based companies, they have captured not only the market, but because of that, the traditional business have suffered a lot. So when we are talking about changing the culture of the company, it is to change with a futuristic approach. Here also we need to take care that one person cannot bring the change. It is a collective effort, but definitely HR can lead to help organization to change this culture. It's a challenging task. Again, it can't be done overnight. It requires time, right direction, and then definitely it can be achieved. And let me repeat again that the traditional approach here will not work. So I hope I am able to communicate that focusing on core function will not only help the organization to grow, but will help you also to grow in leadership position. Now let's spend some time on prevailing COVID situations. Can we go to the next slide, please? So, everyone has talked about the tremendous challenges which this pandemic has thrown in front of us. But there is always two sides of a coin. So I see some opportunities also, especially which are relevant for today's topic related to HR. So what are those opportunities? Can you go to the next slide, please? So I see that now a new pool of talent will be available, which otherwise was not available for recruitment. As we know that we are is no more required to be in office, work from home is a new phenomenon, and all the duties, especially the office staff, can perform all their duties from office, and this will make a new pool of talent available for recruitment. I'll just explain the picture, and I think I'll be able to pass on the message what I'm trying to say. So you see the first picture. There is a young lady with her baby in her arms. So she has decided to go for maternity leave, and after that, she has decided to leave her career because she thought it is more important to take care of her baby rather than doing a 9 to 6 job and leaving the baby alone or with in a crush or with a babysitter. But now, because work from home is there, she will get some flexible working hours wherein she can take care of her baby as well and she can do the office work as well. They will be coming back to the talent pool which will be available for hiring. If you see the next picture, I would describe it as a guy sitting in Ahmednagar and working on his laptop for a company. So I think all the HR professionals, when they talk to candidate, and if the candidate is from a tier 3 city or from a small town, sometimes they get answer that they don't want to migrate to a big city or they don't want to leave their family and friend circle where they have grown up. But now since they are allowed to work from home, sitting at their home and not leaving their parents, taking care of them as well, and most of them are also talented, but because they decided not to migrate, they end up doing some jobs which they don't like. Now they will also be available for hiring. The third one, you see a young lady. She's, I would describe it as that, sitting at her home somewhere, I don't know, maybe around the world in US, Europe, wherever, and still she's serving your company from that location. So a global pool of talent will also be available because you are not asking them to come to your office and work in your office premises. They can work from their home, and you can look for the candidates if they are of your right skills, which are not available in India. Global options are available now. So can we go to the next slide, please? Now, this will be another change which will happen in HR, and this will shake a little bit of traditional way of doing the appraisals. So I have named it as efforts versus results. So, we all are being human and giving a humanitarian effect. Earlier, when we were in office, so the efforts were also considered while doing a performance appraisal. But and what we were doing traditionally is, especially just for on a lighter note for HR, that there was a watch being kept on the employees who is coming on time, who is spending more time in office even after office hours. And those were considered as hard working employees. So there is, even the person is working 11 hours in office rather than 9.5, which are the norms. And even if they are not able to give the 100% results, but the efforts were considered while doing their appraisal, and based on that, they have been considered. But now, since we do not see anyone in office, people are working from home. So this, I think this should change. That now, rather than efforts, the end result will matter. So let's say, for example, if somebody has been given a task that today they have to make a quotation to a customer, the end result will be whether they have been able to make the quotation or not. And no excuses, because you don't know whether the person sitting at home was working for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, or he did it in just 1 hour. So here the actual efficiency and effectiveness of employees will also be known now, which were earlier some ineffective or inefficient employees being covered as part of team. Now they won't be. Now, I think this pandemic, during the pandemic, the HR professionals were working round the clock, for making work from home and all other stuff for the employees, giving them proper infrastructure and all. And I must say, thanks to all the HR professionals that they really worked hard during that time, letting down the new policies and all hard work which they have put in. But now I think there are some relaxations available because there is not that much pressure on facility, I would say, because not all the employees are allowed to work, especially in office. Still in Maharashtra, we are working with 10% capacity. So you have got some time, and I think this time can be utilized for the core HR functions if earlier you guys have not been able to focus on. Plus, you can rethink on the strategies for your HR function and make the changes to suit them for business. So I would request that you guys, if you have really got some time now, please use this time to revisit all the policies and strategies you have for HR. Can we go to the next slide, please? So webinar, what are we doing today? We are discussing our webinar. So for HR also, now I think this will be new normal for training. In any case, right now, attending conferences, seminars, physical meetings are not possible. And until I think we get vaccine, people will be extra cautious to attend these kind of public gatherings. So how the trainings will take place? Definitely they will take place on webinars. So, but it gives us a tremendous opportunity. And those opportunities are that if you will search, you will find a lot of courses which are available online. Some of them are even free. And this has also opened a window of opportunity wherein you don't have to look for only contents which are available in India. Now the world is a platform. You can go global really. You can search for universities in Boston, you can search for universities in Germany, you can think of Harvard, and they have all kind of courses, training available. And if you do your research correct, you will wonder that even some of them, not the top rated one, but some good universities are offering certification courses which can be done free of cost sitting at your home. So this will be a new normal for training. Not only that, but this also gives you the opportunity to have global leaders and the global universities to provide training for your employees. So we have talked about some opportunities here. I think most of you will agree with me for that. So just for your information, I think now we have approximately close to 200 participants. But this has thrown some challenges as well. So can we go to the next slide, please? So this is a challenge which some of you might have experienced. So unlike Europe and America, wherein people are living alone and they have big houses, and in their house generally they have a luxury of creating their own office space there. And like in India, we still have a concept of joint family. If we talk about metros, wherein we have nuclear families, but it's 2 plus 2, husband, wife, and 2 kids. But if we think of them, most of them are living in limited space, maybe in one bedroom house. Sometimes even there are more than 5, 6 people also if the parents are also with them. So what does the picture say is that the lady is working on his mobile and on her mobile and on her laptop and trying to do the work from home, and the entire family is stuffed at the back on the dining table because there is no other space available. So this limited working space is creating a lot of pressure on the employees, stress also. Not only the employees under pressure, but the whole family is stressed because of that. So now, can we? Yeah, okay. Can we go to the next slide, please? This is another challenge, tech challenge, I would say technological challenge. So, when we are doing our Zoom meetings, our Teams meeting, we always say if it is a 1 hour meeting, the first 30 minutes goes for fixing the technical glitches. Either the camera is not working, either it's not audible, it's not visible, you can't show your presentation, all these things go on. Apart from that, the challenge which now we are facing, everyone, is this net connectivity, speed of the broadband or the dongle which employees are using. Everyone does not have a line connection at home, LAN connection, I would say. And we all know that no matter which operator you offer, they all are equally bad. And the picture says that India is the worst performer in BRICS nation as far as the broadband speed is concerned. So what challenges it throws to us is that when you are conducting a meeting, when an important discussion is going on, and the speaker is trying to give the task, and the person who is at the other end who is trying to listen to that, and because of the net connectivity, if he's missing some important discussion, decision, or direction, and if he's not able to speak up, for speaker, he will think that message has been passed on, but it has never reached to the person who is going to perform it. And finally, it will end up in frustration because the task is not being done. And simultaneously, the same thing happens when it's 1 hour meeting and first 15-20 minutes are going to fix, are being spent to fix the technical glitches. The other participants who are really ready for that are really getting frustrated out of it. If you look at the next picture, so as I said, every coin has two sides. So we said that flexible working hours will give us some opportunities also, but it is throwing some challenges as well. So if you see the picture, the lady is up at 9 o'clock sharp and taking down her task, and 9:12 she's sleeping. So people are taking advantage of these flexible working hours. The companies or the leaders or the boss do not have control whether the person is working during office hours or not. I'm not saying that yes. I think all of you might have experienced that some of the employees are taking this advantage, wherein they are showing that they are working, but actually they are not. There is a flexibility, yes, as long as the job is done. It doesn't matter whether the employee has adjusted his time according to his schedule, wherein rather than working from 9 to 6, if he's working between 9 to 12, taking a break of 2 hours, and then rather than 6 working until 8 in the evening. But as far as the team performance is not getting affected, flexible working hours are okay, but otherwise it is throwing some challenges. Though now, I don't know how many of you have experienced, but now the workforce is coming back to office. I'll tell you my experience when I used to talk to my employees during the pandemic. after everybody was happy initially that they have got some space and some flexibility. For 2 weeks everybody was happy, and now after 2 weeks everybody started complaining that when we can come back to office. Unfortunately, the lockdown extended 4 times, and it was going on for almost 60-75 days before the relaxation have been granted. This period they have really slowed down because they are working at their own pace, and moreover because the production was not going on. So except people who are working on development projects are the engineers, the rest of the task force was at ease. Bringing them back to office is a task now, office or factory, and making them work for office during office hours starting from 9 to 6 or 9 to 6:30 or whatever work office schedule you follow, the productivity has really gone down. So this is another challenge, and I think most of you might be facing the challenge of not only the people who have come, the productivity is low, but the migrant workers are not available to work even. Can you go to the next slide, please? Now, this is another most important aspect. This is really disturbing and sad about the news which we have come across in last 1 month. It is also said that every day when we open the newspaper, we see 2 or 3 news that somebody has committed suicide. It's really disturbing when it comes that the whole family is part of it. So no doubt that this pandemic has put a lot of pressure on the mental health of everyone. Employees are also part of it. They are stressed, they are depressed because of the either salary cut or loss of job, or not paying the allowances or incentives or whatever it is, and it's putting a lot of pressure on them. So my advice here is that please try to reach on with each and every employee. Go and talk to them. Doesn't matter what is the size, whether it is 100 people, 10 people, or 1,000 people. Over the time, you will be able to connect with them, and if you are asking for their well-being, not only for themselves but for their family, it will make a big difference. So I think we have another 5 minutes before we go for question answer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So no one expected the kind of disruption which COVID has caused, starting from big multinational organization, big corporate houses to the daily wage workers. Everybody got impacted out of it. So as I mentioned earlier, I would like to repeat that during this pandemic, HR department has worked round the clock to help employees, give them proper infrastructure so that they can start working from home. Not only that, they have helped management to let down the proper policies for safety, new working norms, wherever the decision has been taken considering the business scenario of the organization. Salaries have been, I would say, recalculated. Some of the allowances have gone, somewhere bonuses and incentives have been cut down. But now it's time, because pandemic will continue here. The relaxations are coming and we will start working full time. It's time for us to revisit that which industry we belong to. Is the business returning to its normalcy? Are we in an industry wherein it comes under essential commodities? Are we supplying for medical equipments or related services? Are are we working for an industry which will take some time to recover because we are into either like badly hit industries like tourism or luxury products or non-essential products? So what will be important here is that you can revisit the policies which were laid down considering the pandemic, and if the business is coming back to the normalcy, or if they are coming under essential commodities, if some hard decisions were taken, it's time to relook those decisions and try to help the employees with those stuff. At the end, I would like to say that the time which during pandemic was really crucial because it was end of the financial year. All the employees wait for that time because at the start of financial year, everyone says that they have to uh, go for salary rise, some increment or some training need identification, bonus, incentive, or some new roles, some changes and all that. But that time has been invested in fighting the pandemic. So I think it's time that maybe first quarter is gone, and you guys can relook into those policies again and check if the changes can be made depending on the condition of the business. At last, I would like to say that please take care of the cyber security as well, because the companies have taken the trusted way. They have the earlier the IP rights which were limited to the server and which were limited only for the desktop in offices now has been extended and given to the employees at their houses. So a proper background check will help here. We know if somebody is extra smart, we'll get to know it later, but it's always good to have some preventive measures. So please take care of that as well. On humanitarian ground, I would suggest for one more thing that please see if any of your employee is in need for some urgent things. For them, the urgency can be either for medical, if someone has growing kids for their higher education, or if they have some marriages or other these kind of functions and wherein they need help, and if some decisions which were taken during pandemic and if that have impacted their earnings, a company, depending on their cash flow situation, is able to extend a helping hand to them, you will have a loyal employee for life. Thank you. A question from Mr. Satyanarayan, wherein he is asking how to blend harmoniously both the experienced people with newly recruited young and talented ones in a company, your life experience. So as I mentioned, it's a tough task. But as a culture change, this is required to be done. So I won't say my life experience, but what I can suggest here is that if they are being made part of the team, and as you mentioned that they are the talented ones, so I'm sure you can choose them as high potential people. You can declare it with the experienced one, and if they know that these are the high potential one, and they will be mentored in the department with them, with the bonding, this can be definitely done. So I think it can be achieved, and we have got some success in doing that. But it is really important to communicate the decisions to them. So I hope I have answered satisfactorily. Then let me take the next one. So I have a next question, which is also quite interesting one. What is the scope for personnel from defense background having rich strategic experience from 30-40 age, but pursuing or completing any PG in HR in general for placement? So Mr. Rahul Salunge, I would say, if you are from defense background and if you have a strategic experience, I don't know why you are looking for a job in HR. You can look for a job anywhere, and I think the companies with your immense experience in defense and that too in strategy will take you. Maybe what you can do is there are a lot of companies, especially the big ones, they are trying to enter into defense business because government is focusing for making India a lot of things which is for the defense sector for all the armies. So there are opportunities there because you know the pulse of defense, and you can definitely help them to make the proper strategies for their defense business. That will help. But still, means if you are interested in doing HR also post graduation HR, that will also help in those organizations which are going for defense business. Okay, I hope I have answered his question completely. Let me go to the next one. So the next question is from Miss Parmita Pal. I think I've pronounced it correct. Do you feel that the performance of the human resource remain the same if the technically educated work from home compared to when they work from office? So I'm a little bit confused with this question because I think especially the IT companies they have this phenomenon before also working from home, and they have their policies, the login logout time and serving the customers from home and from their laptop basically. So I think they already have those policies, and they can appraise their performance based on what they're doing. And if I'm not wrong, they have their manager responsible for it. And basically, it is delivery based, wherein if they are able to deliver the project in time, I think they're considered successful for that. So they have this system in place. Then I'll go to the next. So I have one question from Ms. Supriya. That I think that is for MIT to answer, but okay, I would also try to answer is that she's asking the student pursuing HR as their specialization, what would courses you suggest for them to boost their resume? So I think in HR you are already having this because if you are doing your post graduation in HR, that itself is a specialization, and I'm not sure. I think MIT is the right person. MIT is the right institute to tell you what kind of specializations are available. But if you are doing a PG course in HR, there are job opportunities available. And I have not come across wherein somebody is saying that while doing post graduation HR, they have done some specialization as well. So I'm sorry, I have not come across that thing. So I have one question from Snehal. I'm working professional from finance field and pursuing MBA in HR. How can I switch my profile to HR? What are the opportunities? So if you are already a working professional and if you are pursuing your MBA in HR, you can speak to your own organization, and if they have opportunities available in HR and with your performance, I think definitely they can offer you uh, correct profile which is suitable for as per your interest. Uh, but I'm not sure why you're switching over from finance. Whether you have done some specialization in finance, also like CA, ICWA, or MBA in finance, or something like that, and then you are taking additional HR degree for MBA. But if you have only experience in finance, but if you are doing your post graduation in HR, then definitely you will be able to switch over from finance to HR because this is the specialization which you have done. But I would suggest you please try for your own organization. The chances will be much brighter. And because now, since you are working in that organization, you understand that organization and you will be able to perform better. So try for that. Then I have one question from Mr. Chinmay. Is it important to learn data analytics in HR field now? It all depends which industry you want to pursue for. So for manufacturing industry, it is not so important to do the data analytics unless you are in a very big organization. But if you are going to a medium size or small scale for your career, there is not that much requirement for data analytics. Then how to utilize existing workforce with the utmost care in this pandemic times rather than lay off or grab effect in our core business model. That is from Swapnil Joshi. If I have understood correct, what you're asking is how to utilize existing workforce. So, Mr. Swapnil, I think it all depends which industry you are pursuing for. If the business is return to normalcy, not you're not from the sector which is really being hard hit like tourism industry from pandemic. There is no need to lay off. It's a matter of taking care of your employees for 2 3 months, and then afterwards, once the business is normal, you will be able to use them. So it's up to the company how they are going to treat them actually. So let me see if I have one more question. So thank you very much, guys. It was nice talking to all of you, and thanks to MIT opportunity to connect.